Today we're continuing our lesson over writing equations of lines, but today we're going to be writing equations of lines when given 2 points on the line. So we're just basically adding on to the process that we did yesterday. So what's your process? The problem says write the equation of the line that passes through the points 5, 4, and 3, 2. The first step that we have to do when we're given 2 points is we're going to use the slope formula to determine the slope of the line. And here's your slope formula. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. If you need to label your coordinates 5, x1, 4, y1, x2, y2, that's completely fine. Or if you wanted to do it vice versa, you could do that as well. So my slope, I'm just going to do it how I've labeled it here, 2 minus 4 over 3 minus 5. And if you need to draw your arrows like we used to whenever we were doing slope, you could do that, 3 minus 5. So 2 minus 4 is negative 2, and 3 minus 5 is also negative 2, which means my slope is positive 1. So now we have the slope of the line that contains these 2 points. The second step says, pick a point to use in your point slope formula, because yesterday we were able to write the equation of a line when we're given a point and the slope. So now we're given the slope and 2 points. We'll just pick 1 point. I'm going to pick the one that has the smallest numbers, 3 and 2. So y minus, and actually I'm going to zoom down here, and you know what I'm going to do right here? I'm going to say my slope is 1, and then the point that I'm using is 3, 2, and now we're back to where we were yesterday, where it looks exactly the same as what we did yesterday. So y minus that y value, which is 2, equals the slope of 1 times x minus the x value. And now what do I need to do? I need to convert it to slope-intercept form. So y minus 2 equals, if I distribute that 1, it's just x minus 3. And then to get y all by itself, what do I need to do? Add 2 to both sides, and I get y equals x minus 1. And that's our process. So let's do a few more examples so you can get the hang of it. It says write an equation in point-slope form for the line that contains the 2 points, then convert to slope-intercept form. So here's our first example, negative 2, negative 5, and 2, 3. So what's the first thing we need to do? We need to find the slope of the line. So I'm actually going to do this. 3 minus negative 5, because I subtract my y values, and then 2 minus negative 2. So just be careful when your formula contains subtraction and then you've got some negative numbers in there, because what really happens, and I do have students who just jump to this, when I have 2 signs in front of a term, I like to combine them. Minus a negative is just plus. Right here, I can do the same thing. So now 3 plus 5 is 8. 2 plus 2 is 4, which means my slope is, simplify that, 2. And now what's the next step? I need to pick a point. Either point. Which one would you pick? I would pick this one right here. So now I'm going to write the equation of the line that contains this slope and passes through this point. It passes through both of those points, but I only need 1 point to write the equation of the line. So now let's write the equation in point-slope form. Y minus y1, which is that y value, 3, equals what comes next? Slope of 2, x minus that x value, which is 2. And then now what do? I just solve for y. So y minus 3 equals, distribute that 2, 2x minus 4, add 3 to both sides, y equals 2x minus 1. Let's move on to number 2. And I'll just have this open so maybe you can refer to the steps that we did on number 1. What's our first step? Find the slope of the line. So 7 minus 5 over 10 minus 6. That's easy. What's 7 minus 5? 2. 10 minus 6 is 4, which means my slope is 1/2. And now what do? I'm going to pick a point. Which point would you pick? Well, I would pick this one right here, 6, 5. And it doesn't matter which one you pick. you'll end up getting the same answer as I do. So now, point slope form, what do? Y minus 5 equals, what comes next? My slope of 1/2 times x minus 6. And if you need to, write your ordered pair x comma y. I have a lot of students who do that because some students, when they're doing all this algebra, they just get confused. Okay, so now I'm going to distribute this 1/2 into each term on the inside of those parentheses. So y minus 5 equals 1/2 x minus 3. And then what's my next step? Add 5 to both sides, and I get y equals 1/2 x plus 2. Let's move on to our last example. Number 3 passes through these 2 points. So what I would encourage you to do right now is pause the video and find the slope of the line. So when I'm finding the slope of the line, my slope is going to be 2 minus -1. Watch how I write this. That's 2 plus 1. -8 minus -4. That's -8 plus 4. So now let's simplify this. 2 plus 1 is 3. -8 plus 4 is -4. So my slope is -3/4, and now I need to just pick a point on the line. Pick either of these points. Which point would you pick? I'm going to pick this one right here. -8, +2. And now we're going to move on and we're going to do the same process we just did. So using that point slope form, y minus the y value equals the slope times x minus the x value. Well, watch what I do here. X minus the x value is x plus 8, because minus -8 is x plus 8. So what do I need to do now? Distribute this -3/4. So I get -3/4 x minus 6, because -3/4 times +8 is -6. And then I'm going to add 2 to both sides. Whoops, I didn't write over there. So I get y equals -3/4 times x minus 4. And that concludes your notes over day 2, writing equations of lines given 2 points. I hope it was helpful.